Welcome to the channel and welcome to this 500 point combat patrol battle between the Tyranids and Black Templar Space Marines. This is also my very first, let's say, proper bat rep. I've actually been putting it off a little bit because I kind of didn't like the terrain rules in 9th edition. I thought they were a bit bloated and a bit like, okay, is that really all necessary? However, I'm gonna go ahead and do what a few other people have done, and I'm going to basically play a battle with the same sort of terrain. So basically we're gonna have this kind of industrial building as one type of terrain, and then some ruins here as area terrain. This is my first time playing for a while, and it's going to be my first time playing 9th edition with terrain. So there's going to be some bits I get wrong, and some bits I get right, but I feel like as long as we have a good time, then, you know, all is not lost. What we'll be doing here is having this sort of industrial sector, if you like, that's on a planet that's basically been overrun by the Tyranids. As a last gasp, the Imperium are going to send in a ragtag small band of Black Templars. It's not ideal, they're a bit of a shooty Black Templar list, but sometimes you just got to make do with what you've got. So let's see what the forces are, and then after, let's see what the mission is that we're going to play. Our Tyranid patrol detachment here is very top heavy, I'd say. We have a winged Hive Tyrant who knows Psychic Scream and Smite. Prehensile Tail with some nibbly nibbly. So yeah, a very formidable Psyker and close combat unit here. Here we have a Tyrannifex with the Rupture Cannon. It's a weapon beast, so if she sits still she can shoot twice, which is very useful. And then we've got the Gribblies. We've got 10 Hormagaunts here, which basically nothing special going on. Some siding talons, bounding leap very fast. And then we have our Termagants here. They actually are equipped with flesh borers, not devourers, which the models have, purely for a points kind of thing. It's I just gave them all devourers because I think the models look better. They're all painted as Behemoth, so we're going to play as Behemoth, which gives us reroll charge rolls for units with this adaptation. Yeah, so that'll probably come in useful for the Hive Tyrant and for these little guys. So the Tyranid belligerents coming to strip the industrial world bare. Representing humanity's finest, here we have a pretty small band, to be honest, of Black Templar Space Marines. Mostly Primaris. Let's go through and see what we have. Here we have our Warlord. He is a Captain in Gravis armor, so he gets a 4-up invulnerable, I believe. He's pretty nails, to be honest. I've used him before. He's pretty good. We have our Hellblasters at the back, basically super plasma guns for a lot of pew-pew. We have our Interceptors here, basically a heavy bolter in each hand. They fly around. They do pretty nuts things in combat, and also they can start the battle off the battlefield, which is cool. And then we have just some bog standard Intercessors. Cool, I like the models, they're nice to paint. Yeah, so you don't get a huge amount for 500 points. This is actually 515. The NIDs are like 505, but that's alright. I don't mind those little discrepancies. So let's go ahead now and look at the mission we're going to play. The mission we're going to play here is Encircle. Briefing is both forces have converged on this vital location and a firefight has ensued. Neither side is willing to cede ground, but successfully circumventing the enemy's position will open up a brutal crossfire, leaving the objectives for the taking. So the primary objective, or victory points, are awarded for controlling objective markers as follows. Taken hold. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each of the following conditions. If you control 1 or more objective, if you control 2 or more, or if you control more than the opponent. Okay, cool. So that's potentially 15 a turn for each team. Pretty big numbers, isn't it? The primary objective cannot be scored in the first battle round. Okay, cool. There's also a secondary objective. Encircle. Score 3 victory points if you have at least 1 unit from your army, excluding aircraft, wholly within 6 inches of your battlefield edge and at least 1 in the enemy's. Okay. Score 5 instead if one of these units is also wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. Okay, wow. So this potentially is going to get high scores, isn't it? It's going to be like American football scores. So the layout here is as follows. So you basically got 4 objectives staggered around and staggered deployment zones. So let's have a look and see what that means for our battlefield. So here you can hopefully see how it looks for ours. Yeah, hopefully it looks okay. You can see the deployment zones are laid out with the dice a little bit, and then you've got the objectives over here, 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 and here. And yeah, for the terrain, I found the terrain rules in 9th edition a little bit confusing at first glance, to be honest. I've been told that that's not true, but okay, fair enough. I've actually been told to make cheat sheets, so guess what I've done? I've made cheat sheets. So I'm literally going to place all this industrial stuff as dense cover. That means, well, amongst many other things, but basically all I care about is if you're standing on it, it's -1 to hit you, not if you're shooting out of it. Okay, and then this stuff is obscuring, so this gives a +1 to save rolls if you're standing in, I'll say, this area here and also this area here, just so it's all symmetrical. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and roll off, and we'll see who goes first. So what I'm going to do, actually, because I'm basically playing against myself here in a kind of Zerg mode, needs the Space Marines, I'm just going to go ahead and roll off. So basically, whoever rolls the lowest, if I can say it, will basically deploy first. So here we go. What we got? We've got a 1 and a 3, meaning the Black Templars will deploy first. So in the Space Marines deployment zone, wow, you really don't get a lot of Space Marines for 500 points. We basically got the Inceptors up here. They're going to have good lines of sight basically everywhere, all around. That's good news. Down here we have the Captain in Gravis armor. Basically, if anyone attacks them, he's going to try and help them out. We have the Space Marines over here, and they're basically going to try and move up to this objective and try and hold this as best they can, I think, just to get those victory points. Flyboys are actually going to stay in reserve. They're probably going to try and drop into the enemy's deployment zone to try and capture that secondary objective and get that extra 5 points if they can every turn. After Tyranid deployment, we have basically the Tyrannifex here is in the open, but you know, getting line of sight on other units as much as they can. You know, it's really going to try and harass what we've got going on over there. Also, I think I need to check that he can hold the objectives, but he could probably sneak over here and hold that while also giving some trouble to all the other units basically on the battlefield. So that's basically his strategy. Over here we've got the Hormagaunts and the Termagants. So I'm basically thinking these guys are going to just run over here and try and take that objective from these guys. We might have a little fight in that bit of ruin there. And also for the secondary objective, you have to have a unit within 6 inches of your part of the battlefield. So I don't know. I might see these shooty guys might hang back and just try and, you know, make sure I can get those secondary objective points as the Tyranids. The Hive Tyrant, as probably no surprise, is actually going to wait and swoop in afterwards. So to determine first turn, again I'm going to do a dice roll, so basically the highest will go first. And it's the Tyranids to have turn 1 first. Also should say that a bit like when you're playing Scrabble, because there's so many victory points involved, I'm actually going to basically make a score sheet just because I'm a simple man and I want to keep track of the points. So at the end of Tyranids movement in turn 1, basically the Tyrannifex moved up a little there, just to kind of get a foot on that objective for next turn when we can start scoring points. Both of these units advanced. The Hormagaunts, basically, they ran up here and they've got themselves in a position where they can't be seen by those intercessors over there. But you know, next turn they could possibly pounce on that. We'll see what happens. And then these guys have basically just captured that objective, ready to you know, have that next turn once it comes to it. I'm aware that these guys are totally in the open. They could get shot very easily. The next thing I have to choose is basically where I'm going to put my winged Hive Tyrant. And to be honest, I'm quite tempted just to crush this this side of the Space Marines flank. Just checked and we can drop in 9 inches or more than 9 inches away from enemies. And actually, I've accidentally really well blocked this this flank. I actually can't drop in behind these Space Marines. I would have to drop in front, which is tempting, or basically over here. I think I'm kind of tempted to maybe crush the will of those Space Marines here by basically mincing up that captain. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So yeah, I've basically dropped my Hive Tyrant in there. He's on that objective if he, survives a turn, which I imagine he does. Also, if he fails his charge, he's kind of there still. Yeah, let's go on to Psychic. So first off, I'm going to try and cast Smite. It's got a power level of 5. Let's see how we do. And it's just passed. So basically, closest unit enemy is this guy. He's got 7 wounds, and now he's about to have D3 taken off. So that's 2 wounds off. He's down to 5. Next up, he's going to use Psychic Scream, and it's also power level 5. What we got? 10. Okay. If that was Smite, he'd be taking D6 off, but it's not. So again, D3 mortal wounds. What we got? Just the 1. He is down to 4 wounds. Next up, our Tyrannifex over here is going to shoot also at this guy over here, just trying to cut off the snake's head, if you like, from the perspective of the Tyranids. So he's got a heavy 3 weapon. He moved, so it's going to be -1 to hit. He also doesn't get to shoot it twice because he moved. So let's have a look at his numbers. He's got a 4-up ballistic skill normally. It'll be -1, I think, because he moved. I just checked, and no, he doesn't get the -1 for moving because he's not infantry. He is, in fact, a monster. So he's going to get 3 shots. This guy isn't in terrain, so he actually, he's not going to get his... what's the word? His -1 to hit that we put on our little cheat sheet over here. So it's basically 4s to hit this guy with 3 shots. 1 hit. So the strength here is 10 against toughness 5. So we're looking at a 2 to wound. And it's passed. AP -3 on that weapon. However, he gets a 4-up invulnerable. So let's see how that invulnerable does. And he's failed his 4-up invulnerable save. Rupture Cannon does D6 damage, and he's got 4 wounds left. So now, potentially, he is going to be dead, basically. So here we go, D6 wounds. Ooh, only 2. So he's down to 2 wounds. So the only unit that can charge is the Hive Tyrant, and he's basically going to declare a charge here on this Captain in Gravis armor. He gets to reroll if he fails, I believe, for 5 Hive Fleet Behemoth. I'm sure people will correct me if that's wrong. I need 8, basically, to get in. So, I've been using the green dice so far. See if we get 8. And he's failed his charge. That means that next turn, he is very much susceptible to being shot at. And so that is the end of the Tyranids turn 1. No one can score any objectives right now, and nobody is scoring any. We took how many wounds? 5 wounds off this guy here, which I feel like was pretty good going, to be honest. Yeah, let's move on to the Space Marines turn 1. And now the Space Marines, having finished their movement, look like this. These Space Marines here basically moved over 6 inches to get some better shooting there, and also in subsequent turns to potentially shoot the Hormagaunts that end up there. Up here, these guys just stayed still, the Hellblasters. I should note that even though there's 5 models here with the plasma weapons, actually only 4 of them do. The Sergeant doesn't, he just has a bolt pistol. And here, the Captain in Gravis armor, like an absolute hero, is kind of maybe sacrificing himself to take a few wounds off that Hive Tyrant. We'll see how that plays out. And then over here, the Inceptors try and shoot this to death, or if not shoot it to death, outnumber it, make it ineffective by taking wounds off it. We'll see how it goes. So the Space Marines don't have any Psychers, so we're basically going to start with the Hellblasters, and they're going to go into the Hive Tyrant, and they are absolutely 100% going to overcharge. 8 dice, because 4 of them have the plasma weapons, and we're going to be hitting on 3s. Any unmodified hit rolls of 1, the bearer is destroyed after shooting with this weapon. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to roll individually. So rather than doing all 8 at once, I'm going to do for each one. So first guy, hit and hit. Second guy, a hit. Third guy, Whoa, more hits. Fourth guy. Oh, I think they were misses. Yeah, okay. So strength 8 against toughness 7. We are looking for 3s. And quite a few of them got through. AP of -4 means the Hive Tyrant has to use his 4-up invulnerable saves. And 3 actually fail. Actually quite effective shooting there. Each of these does 2 damage. So the Hive Tyrant is now down to 6 wounds. Half his wounds have been taken off by those Hellblasters. That's basically what they're there for, isn't it? The boss man now is going to take his 3 pistol shots, and he hits on 2s. And they all hit. 4 against toughness 7, looking for 5s to wound. And one of them gets through. So it's got a -1 AP, so the Hive Tyrant now has to make a save of 4 up. It can either be its armor save or it's invulnerable. Let's see how we do. And that's passed. After some very effective shooting from these intercessors here into the Hormiguns, they actually slayed 6 of these guys. However, because they are still within 12 inches of the Hive Tyrant, they will actually pass any morale test. But there's only 4 of them left. To be honest, it's enough to hold the objective, but, you know, maybe for 1 turn, I think. So over here, we've got the Inceptors, and they're going to try and whittle away at this Tyrannofex. So altogether, with 3 shots in each hand, these guys are going to have 18 shots. So we're going to be hitting this Tyrannofex on 3s. We only had 3 misses there, which is pretty incredible. So now we're looking to wound on 5s. Again, I'm really surprised how many of them, 8 wounds got through. It's got 12, I think, in all. Whoops, that's a dropped dice. So anyway, it's got a 3-up save normally. These guns are -1 AP. So we are looking at 4-up saves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fails. So the Inceptors, in their first turn of shooting, have taken 5 wounds off the Tyrannofex. In all, in terms of shooting there, I think we have to say that is very successful Space Marine shooting. These intercessors here basically nearly wiped out this unit of Hormiguns. Termagants, which I've now taken away. These Hellblasters here basically took half his wounds off him. He did nothing in his shooting, and these Inceptors actually took, what was it, like 5 wounds off that, so that's down to 9 wounds, starting on like 14. So yeah, pretty good shooting. I'm now debating as a Space Marine commander, do I charge here or do I not charge here? I mean, I could get 1 round of hitting in. Do you know what it is? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to charge that Hive Tyrant and see if I can take some more wounds off him before it probably inevitably eats me up. So I basically need to get 3 inches to get into charge range here. Snake Eyes or bust. There we go, we get in. The brave captain makes it into combat. Let's see if he can do any stuff to that Hive Tyrant. So he normally gets 5 attacks, but because he's a Black Templar, he's going to get an extra attack, so he's getting 6 attacks. I'm going to do them all with his Boltstorm Gauntlet. That's the big fist-looking thing. Normally hits on a 2, -1 because it's a big unwieldy weapon. So we are looking for 3s. Ooh, not really good rolling, to be honest. Only 2 of them. It does double his strength, however, to 8. So that means that he's going to be wounding that thing on 3s. Only 1 of them. It's got an AP of minus lots, so basically 4-up invulnerable for the Hive Tyrant. It fails. That weapon does a damage of 2, so basically he's managed to take that down to 4 wounds. So honestly, that didn't go too terribly. But now, realistically, he's probably going to get absolutely rinsed by that Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant gets 4 attacks +1 because he's got his 2 pairs of monstrous scything. Okay, he's going to be on 3s actually. I just had to check because of his wounds, and they nearly all hit. The captain is in toughness 5, HT is strength 6, a bit lower than I would have thought, so wounding on 3s. So with a -3 AP, these 3 hits not looking good for the guy there. He gets a 4-up invulnerable though. Let's see how we do. Wow, they're all saved. He's actually survived this. However, the Hive Tyrant gets an extra attack with his prehensile tail, which is an in addition. So hitting on 3, missed. Okay, cool. Honestly, that went a lot better than I expected for the captain in Gravis armor, who actually survived that round of combat. 4 invulnerables, just vulnerables in general, just so good, aren't they? Right, cool. And that is combat for the Space Marines. And now we move on to Tyranids turn 2. So in the command phase of Tyranids turn 2 now, they actually can start racking up points with the objectives. So this one's contested, so that's not the Tyranids. This one's held by the Tyranids, and this one is also held by the Tyranids. So that's 2 objectives that are held. Just to be clear, there's some rules, I think, or maybe it used to be that only troop choices could hold objectives, but there's so few troop choices in this that I'm just going to say that models. I think it might be number of models anyway, but yeah, that's what we'll say for the purposes of this, just to make it a bit more interesting. So yeah, the Tyranids control 2, so if we look here, they control 2 or more objective markers. So yeah, basically 10 victory points here for the Tyranids. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my little Scrabble board, and I'm going to say, turn 2, 10 points. Cool, happy days. Now we're going to go into movement, and he's basically going to stay there. He's basically going to stay there and munch that scenario. And these guys are going to run, and these guys are going to stay. Yeah. So at the end of Tyranid movement, these guys are in the cover there. They're going to get a +1 to their save if they get shot at. They're also hopefully going to have some left in order to have that held. You know, at the end of or the beginning of the command phase next turn. These guys have just stayed there, hoping to stay alive. Maybe do some shooting up to here. Here we've got the Hive Tyrant. He's going to do some psychic smiting there. Hopefully kill that guy, and then, you know, potentially move on to this fleshy reward. And then over here, he's going to have a go at just absolutely popping loads and loads of shots off at these and seeing what happens. These guys will also get a +1 to their save. First off, we're going to do Psychic Scream at the guy just there. So we need a 5 to shoot it off. And it's failed. Nightmare. Next up, we want to do Psychic Scream. And that's passed. I actually wanted to do Psychic Scream on these guys because you can get potentially D6 wounds done. Anyway, D3 wounds. Let's see if he's dead. No, he's still on 1 wound left. This guy, honestly, look at him. What an example for us all to follow. Also, I should add, with 9th edition combat, how it works, he's actually going to get to hit the Hive Tyrant first. So he could feasibly kill that Hive Tyrant, which I would actually kind of love to see. So the Rupture Cannon has fired into them and basically got 6 hits, which is pretty good, to be honest, because he was hitting on 4s. These are going to wound on 2s, and they all but 1 wound. And so now the Rupture Cannon has a AP of -3. So they have a 3-up save. That will become a 6. However, because they're in this cover and we've got our cheat sheets, these guys get a 5-up save. And each shot from this does D6 damage. So these could actually just be out of here pretty quick. So they need 5s. Wow, look at those saves. Like 3 good saves. And then these 2. So each of these doing D6 damage. I mean, what do they have? 2 wounds each? Oh no, they have 3 wounds each actually. Happy days. So what do we need? 9 for these to get out of there. That's it, 11. And with that, the Inceptors are no longer. Wow, that's a pretty big change, I think, to the face of the battlefield now, with the Tyranids basically totally holding this flank. So in 9th edition, the side whose turn it isn't gets to hit first in combat. That's our little guy here again. So can he take 4 wounds off this Hive Tyrant? And, you know, again, change this flank pretty considerably more than any of us might have expected. I love playing this game. Just things happen that you don't expect so much of the time. He's going to make every attack with his gauntlet, -1 to hit. He needs 3s to hit. 3 of them. He only needs a 3 to wound. 2 of them. And 4 up and vulnerable here. So each of these that gets through does 2 damage. So these both need to save. 4 up and vulnerables. They both failed. And do you know what I'm going to do? Because I basically haven't been using any rerolls or command points. I'm going to go ahead and reroll one. I always forget to use them. I'm used to playing other editions where they don't exist. And it's passed. But the Hive Tyrant is down to 2 wounds. Cool. Now the Hive Tyrant gets to fight back. On 2 wounds, the Hive Tyrant is no slouch. So he's going to be hitting on 4s with his 4 attacks. Actually, he should get an extra one because he's got another pair of Monstrous Scything Talons. He gets to reroll 1s with his Monstrous Scything Talons. And so what? He's made 3 hits. 3s to wound. All wound. Minus 3 AP on the Monstrous Scything Talons. So the captain gets his 4 up in vulnerables. And all but 1 have passed. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use one of the Black Templars points. And we're going to reroll this. Come on, 4 up to keep him alive. And it's failed. And with that, the captain loses his last wound. But honestly, what a good job he did. I mean, he lasted about a turn longer than I expected. That's down to 2 wounds. I mean, that's pretty good going, to be honest. With that, we have the end of Tyranids turn 2. And so we're going to move on to Black Templars turn 2 with movement first. So we skipped the command phase because honestly, they didn't have any objectives to... they weren't holding any objectives yet, so they're actually losing pretty much because it's like 10-0 currently. But anyway, the intercessors have moved up here so that if, you know, they basically had to push matters a little bit so that they can hopefully clear up some of those aliens and then be holding that at the beginning of their next turn. Over here, the Hellblasters have basically taken up a bit of a better firing position in order to shoot at their Hive Tyrant and hopefully finish it off. Honestly, the Space Marines are so low on units right now. I feel like they sat back and did a lot of shooting, and maybe at the risk of getting tabled right now. We'll have to see. After shooting and rolling to wound these intercessors, they managed to get 6 wounds going through. These guys normally get a 6-up save. That goes to a no save with the minus 1 AP. However, cheat sheet, +1 to save, so they're back to 6s. Let's see how many of them live and die. So 1 lives, 5 dead out of a unit of 10. That is not a good thing for these guys. So yeah, these guys are going to have to take morale tests and things. This will be my first time doing like 9th edition morale, so yeah, we'll see how that goes in a minute after the other shooting. Our next shooting, we're going to have 8 Plasma Incinerators going into the Hive Tyrant. Here's our dice. Let's hit on 3s. Oops. Ooh, a few misses there. I should also point out these are not supercharging. 3s to wound him. 2 of them. Okay, and then 4 up invulnerables. Let's see if he's dead. Each of these shots will just do the 1 damage. But yeah. So here we go. 4 up invulnerables. Once. Oh, they've both failed. And I can't reroll both of them. So with that, the Hellblasters have seen to it that the Hive Tyrant is no longer a problem this battle. But wait, there's more. One of these, I think this guy in my head was the sergeant, basically with a pistol, is going to fire his bolt pistol across to these guys. He's going to hit on 3s. He hits. He's going to wound on 3s. He wounds. And one of them over there, those Tyranids, are going to get a 6-up save. And he saves. So that was the end of the Space Marines turn 2, basically. And we move on to turn 3 in the game. So in the command phase, it's a Tyranids turn 3 right now. So basically, they control 1 and 2 objectives. That's 10 points again. This one, I mean, even if you control 3, you don't get any extra points. So they control 1. They control enough for 10 points, basically. So turn 3, we're gonna add on. Oh, let's do some proper Scrabble style scoring. It's basically 20-0 to the Nids right now, and they outnumber. Oh, sorry, 2 seconds. I didn't do the morale check for these. Let's do that now. So I think just before I go ahead, I think it's mathematically impossible for them to pass. Oh, actually, at 1, if they get a 1, I think they pass. But basically, so it's D6 plus the amount that died, and if it's more than leadership, then they fail. So their leadership is 5. 5 of them died, so I'm going to roll a dice here. And basically, if this is a 1, they pass. If it's not, then they fail, and then other things happen. And they definitely fail. So what happens now is we do a combat attrition test and basically see how many of these run away. Back in the day, I think it was like the number that you failed by was the number that ran away. But now, for every model, we roll a d6, and for every one of them runs away. No, look at that. They're like, no, we aren't going anywhere. 5s and 6s, baby. So the little Hormagaunts through there, they shot at these guys and did nothing, unsurprisingly. But now I think it's kind of the shooting showdown that we've been waiting for. Got that rupture cannon over there going into the Hellblasters. Here we refer to our cheat sheet. It's -1 to hit them. So it would be 4s, looking for 5s to hit, because it's a weapon beast that didn't move. He's shooting twice, so here we are, 5s to hit. Actually, nice shooting. Strength 10 against toughness 4. We're looking at 10s to pretty much vaporize. All but 1. So it's got a -3 AP. So these guys are looking at 6s to save. Look at that. Do you know what? Shall I? I'm gonna actually use one of these bad boys to re-roll. Come on, can I get another 6? I want to keep these guys alive. Nope. Oh well. It's basically 2d6 wounds inflicted on the unit here. Let's have a look. 5 wounds. Wow. So we're basically going to get rid of the sergeant because he's just got a pistol. So there's 2, 4, and then we'll leave one of them on 1. That wasn't actually as catastrophic as I had expected. However, now we'll take a leadership test for these guys when it's applicable. We'll remember that, unlike last time. Now let's go to do some charging. I think anything but Snake Eyes gets these guys into combat. Let's have a look. Yeah, they're getting in, aren't they? So yeah, this is what these guys were sent to do, and they're going to try and do it. I reckon they'll probably take a couple of Space Marines down and then get matched up themselves, but hey, you got to have a go, don't you? So I'm just rolling to hit now with the Hormagaunts, and they just got an absolutely incredible number of 6s there, which is brilliant. They needed 4s. Wow, I should have filmed that, shouldn't I? Now to wound, they're going to need 5s. Let's see if we can do that again. Not far off, to be honest. So the Space Marines get 3-up saves. Let's see how that goes. And they all pass. Space Marines hitting back now. They're going to be hitting on 3s. Oops, what's that on top? Cool. Wounding on 3s. Wow, bad rolling. And 6-up save. And that's failed. But you know what it is? I'm running out of reasons to use my what they called thingy rolls, so I'm going to spend another command point on trying to do a 6-up. Ha! Didn't pay off. So now we're going to do a morale test for these Hellblasters. I actually got rid of the Sergeant because he doesn't have a plasma weapon. So they've got a leadership of 7. So what we've got, 5 plus 2 is 7. So they have passed. Well done. We now move on to the Space Marines' turn, and yeah, I don't think they control that objective. And numbers-wise, it's exactly equal. They definitely don't control any over here. So again, we're looking at 0 points. I'm playing the Space Marines terribly here potentially, but they are killing lots of stuff. So now we're going to move on to the movement phase. The options are limited. They're going to stay in combat most likely. These guys are probably going to move up there to try and basically kill those little gribblies. Hope here for the Space Marines being that they can win this fight and hold that objective for some late turn points. basically shoot these off and then get down there and then hold that, and then hopefully just leave them there with one objective left. Maybe even trying to shoot that to death. Movement complete. We're basically going to rain fire down onto those Tyranids down there. We're going to do that on 3s to hit. 2 shots. Actually, I just had to check rapid fire there. So the disappointing shooting, I'm going to use a command point and I'm going to re-roll one of these. It's probably more likely than the 6s I've been trying to re-roll before. So 3. Flip it out, failed again. Pretty bad re-roll selection, but there you go. Okay, so basically splattering nids on 2s. That's 3 splattered nids from a unit of 4. So there's going to be a big old attrition. Let me take the ones away from the objective, actually. Big old attrition test going to be happening there. Back to this combat over here. So the unit whose turn it isn't hits first again. So we're looking at 10 hits on 4s. Whoops. Not terrible. Looking for 5s to wound. Actually, because they've got Scything Talons, the 1s they could re-roll. So looking at these for 4s. Okay, cool. Then 5s to wound. 2. 3 up saves for the Space Marines. Oops. Wow, both failed. I think I will re-roll one of them. I'm down 2. So just to keep one alive. That's also failed. Big disappointment. And with that, this combat, finally someone blinks first. One of the Space Marines is out of there. I'll do a morale test with that in a bit. So now the Space Marines get to hit back with 4 of them hitting twice for 8 attacks. These are going to be hitting on 3s. Just realised that actually I think when they got charged they should have got extra attacks. Forgiveness please. Anyway, looking at 3s to wound. 3 of them, okay. And then 6s to save for the Tyranids. None of them. Okay, so that's 3 dead nids over here. So, you know, something is starting to give over here at least. And that is the combat done. Wow, it's not looking good for the nids over here. Let's do some combat attrition. So D6 plus 3 dead is 3 plus 3 is 6, so 1 runs away, and that unit is out of there. Wow. So now we have these nids over here. We've got D6 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. One of them's out of there. And the last one, we're going to have to do an attrition test for. On a 1, he's also out of there. Nope. He says, not on my watch. So at the end of Space Marines turn 3, it kind of looks like the rope-a-dope that the Space Marines did just by sitting back and letting the Tyranids come at them might pay off in the end. They control this one here on the left, they can swoop down and control that one there, and then basically the Tyranids have only got this Tyrannifex on 9 wounds left. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this match goes on for and what happens in terms of victory points. So we move on to turn 4. I've just checked and I think we finish on turn 5. So it could be interesting to see how it goes. And in the combat phase, there's 1 objective held. So Scrabble board, here we go. 5. Oops, turn 4, sorry. Add 5's 25 to 0. Let's wait to see what happens in the Space Marines turn for that. So, yeah, let's go on. And do you know what I've just noticed? So we're on the Tyranids turn now. And I didn't do this deliberately, but I've basically moved my Hellblasters to a position where I don't think that Tyrannifex has line of sight on it. Has it got line of sight on it? Do you know what it is? I bet there'd be some people who say that that's got line of sight, but I'm going to say that no, it doesn't. So that could make things a little interesting, I suppose. Look at that, you can't see him. I mean, you know, feel free to leave a comment. Can this Tyrannifex see those Hellblasters? I really don't think you can. Interesting. So given that, yeah, it would feel unfair if I was playing someone and I said that like Tyrannifex can see them, so I'm going to say they can't. which was totally accidental. We're going to go straight to the combat phase, and the Space Marines are basically going to hit first. I think this is going to go badly for the little Nid. So 8 attacks were made against that little Gribbly down there, and only 1 wound got through. So on a 6, he could stay alive. Fails. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend a command point. Actually, I forgot to add one, so it'll stay on 3. Come on, this time for a 6. Oh, it looked like it was going to go on 6, but it didn't. Oh well, he's dead. And very quickly, that was the end of Tyranid's turn 4. He didn't want to move because he wanted to shoot twice, but you know, he held that in the end. Cool. So now we're going to go on to Space Marines turn 4. Very quickly, counting up in the command phase, we've got 5 points here finally. So we've got 25-5 at the end of turn 4. In terms of movement, these guys are just going to stay there. These guys are going to advance to try and hold that so that in turn 5 they can get some points. But to be honest, I don't think they're going to be able to make a huge difference. 5 plus 6, 11 inches. I'm not even sure how tall this is. What they got? 5 down, because this is like scalable or whatever you call it. So yeah, they're going to be able to get there, no problem. Just for the sake of, you know, good practice, I did actually move them into that sort of area cover there. These guys are on that, and this big old thing on 9 wounds is still sat over here. As we move on to the final turn of the game, it's turn 5 of the Tyranids. The Tyranids control 1 objective. They don't control 2 or more than the enemy. So basically they get another 5 points, which puts them on 30, which is quite a lot. So now he definitely can see those guys there. And what's interesting is that they aren't in any cover of any kind, so will they get any cover save? That's not obscuring. Like, this stuff is not obscuring, so like if you look in the rules, that's one of the terrain things. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure people will. I'm appreciative of that input, to be honest, because it helps me get better. But yeah, he stayed still. He's going to put all his shots into those guys. 6 shots, hitting on 4s. 1 went miles away. Going to spend a CP to re-roll it. Re-roll one of them, hitting on 4. Come on. Nope. Wounding on 2s. 2 of them. 6 up saves for the Space Marines. 1 failed, 2 failed. 2d6 damage, one of them's on 1 wound, so if this is 5 or more, that unit is out of there. That unit is absolutely out of there. So with that, unfortunately for the Space Marines, they are denied the points, or the contributing effort that might have made to their points in the next turn. And that is the end of Tyranids turn 5, very quick as we said. And now we go to the Space Marines turn 5. Command phase, straight away, here they are, they got 1, and that's all that they have. So they get another 5 points, and they end the game on 10 points. So basically, 30-10 is the end score for this match. In the end, we're left with a Tyrannofex on 9 wounds. Honestly, you know, if we played up to turn 7 or 8, unless these guys just stayed there and stalemated for a long time, they'd probably just get shot to bits. Let's be honest, they're not going to be able to get over there and do anything. Even if they were right next to him, they probably couldn't do anything to him. So, I hope you've enjoyed this matchup. The Tyranids won. That was Encircle from Eternal War Combat Patrol size missions. I really enjoyed playing it, actually. I feel like 500 points, if you pick lists like mine, you don't have a huge amount of like strategic options. The Tyrannofex made a huge difference, just such a big gun. Yeah, that has been this Bat Rep. Please like and subscribe if you feel that way inclined. Thanks for watching Peacetime Painting, and take care of yourselves.